point you raised there that I think is really important. When people try and say, oh, yeah, but, you know, soccer is soft, when you look at how the whole nation basically has stopped and how everyone went berserk about Optus, you've got to think to yourself that these days, seriously, football, you look at the Socceroos and the Matildas, are they now not our national team here in Australia? Well, teams, you know, from the sport. I mean, it's incredible the amount of impact that this World Cup has had.
If you've been watching the one-day cricket, you'd probably say so.
Yeah. And you're right, it's been a ratings juggernaut for SBS, who's landed the bargain basement broadcast deal of the century. Because obviously weekend off for rugby league, for club football. We'll talk about Origin in a second. But a history-making night at North Sydney Oval on Friday night. First ever Women's State of Origin. It drew a crowd of nearly 7,000 paying fans. If the AFL's listening, they paid either $10 or $15 to get in. It was broadcast free-to-air on Channel 9 and on pay TV with Fox. More than 500,000 people tuning in to watch this night. And the Blues centre, Isabel Kelly, breaking the deadlock. You could see it was tied up with 5 minutes to play. So the Blues 16-10 over the line.
Some great skill there too. I mean, you know, the game gets a bit of a knock. The women's game gets a bit of a knock insofar as, you know, that they say that the girls are oversized, as it were. But look at the sublime skills that were shown there. I mean, a lot of men would be very happy to be
oversized.
Well, you know, people say that...
Not fit enough?
Yeah, they're not fit enough, yeah.
They got the environment to be fit enough? They're given every opportunity to be
they
fit
are given
enough?
I like the way that Rugby League has done it insofar as they're putting their product on towards the end of the season and they're doing the two states against each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's a far better way than trying to grow overnight with a lot of club football.
Well, when the New South Wales captain says after the game that she lost her job in the week leading to the game as a truck driver on the wharfs because she couldn't put the time in, there's your answer to, do they have the time? No. And she's had to, you know, she was driving a truck on the wharfs to keep her head above water while trying to play the game. But rugby league fans are going to hate me saying this because they hate the constant comparisons, but it had the feel of that first AFLW game back at Optus Oval, and that was, as you said, those, you know, they got more, but they didn't pay, and it had that kind of vibe, good feel, whatever, and something that you can build on the back of. That people saw and the exposure.
The competition is really fantastic, and even though it was the first official State of Origin, they had played each other before, you know, unofficially, but the competition, the skill, the standard is growing every year, and really fabulous.
I remember watching the gold medal match in Rio, Rugby Sevens, and I can remember sitting there watching Shazlik play.
Yeah, Charlotte Caslick.
Charlotte, and just being so impressed with the way in which she ball played, and I saw a lot of evidence of that. Last night.
They've been professionals. They've been professionals, those Rugby 7 players, for a while. So there's the difference, isn't it? There was a photo that was taken after the game that was put out there by the NRL media that's causing a little bit of a stir. State of Origin rivals here, Karina Brown and Vanessa Foliaki, have been a couple for 4 years. Roy, should State of Origin rivals be showing such affection to each other after a game?
Well, on the one hand, why we celebrate, and so we should, gay people playing team sports, particularly the football codes. At the same time, I think that we are running the risk, or the media is certainly running the risk, insofar as sending out a sort of stereotypical message that these are the sports for gay women. And it's got the impact of potentially sending that same stereotype message to parents. And we shouldn't be doing that, in the sense that I remember when Ian Roberts announced that he was gay in the NRL, I felt tremendously proud of the fact that he'd done that, and I was even more proud of the way in which the players reacted. It was a no-nonsense thing, you know, let's get on with it. It helped that he could fight like fury as well. But
sending out the message, though, I mean, this is one photo. This is what they're two players out of hundreds of players.
Well, you know, the greater message, the greater story in my book would have not so much been the kiss, but the fact that they didn't talk to each other for about 4 days before the match.
Yeah, and
they live in the same house.
That's unusual, but I guess, Tracy, I mean, you look at gay women have been playing sport for a long time, and it wasn't that long ago that they had to hide and they couldn't be themselves and show their emotions. So this is a moment to celebrate, surely.
It's something that I'm talking about on the ticket later today, and I've got a panel talking about it, because the Rugby League, the NRL this week in Melbourne, won an award for the #1 national sports body in dealing with LGBTI inclusion. So they won the Pride in Sport Index. have done fantastically well. And I think, you know, when you say we're stereotyping this, that was one photo amongst a whole lot of great coverage that we saw.
Which is the one we'll remember, Tracy, by the end of the week?
Which is the one you'll remember, Roy? Because a lot of other people will remember a lot of other photos, and there's actually not an issue with two partners embracing at the end of a game because, you know, partners on the men's side. And I think what we have to raise here is that women for a long time have felt a lot more comfortable in being open about their sexuality than in the men's game, and that is still a massive challenge, a much bigger challenge than saying we're stereotyping women's sport.
Tracy.
Look, next to football, the world's biggest sport as far as numbers competing is volleyball. We won a gold and a silver medal at the Commonwealth Games. It's the most gender equal sport, and the Australian team is playing the world champions, the Olympic champions and the Pan American champions at Hisense Arena this weekend.
Roy.
John Dowling Coates on Friday came to Melbourne, a city where he has very, very few friends in the elite sporting community and even less in the media. And he presented an Olympic gold medal to Peter Norman's family, a long overdue recognition for something that to right a historical wrong.